Glad to have you back. You're still watching Plus Politics. Now, in a judgment of 4-1, the five-man panel led by Justice Jummai Sankey, the Court of Appeal upheld the appeal filed by Governor Adegboyega Oyetola of Osun State challenging the verdict of the tribunal and also affirmed him as duly elected. I still have with me Dipo Olayoku. Now, this is another interesting bed we are sitting on, and we're shifting focus to Osun State. The whole back and forth with verdict so far, and we have the latest with the nullification of the judgment of the Osun State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal that initially declared the PDP governorship candidate as winner. Now the latest is Adegboyega Oyetola now been duly recognized.
According to the Court of Appeal.
According to the Court of Appeal. What do you expect next from Senator Ademola Adeleke seeking redress?
Definitely they will go to Supreme Court. I think they are very lucky because pre-2011, all governorship election petitions ended at the Court of Appeal level before 2011. All governorship, House of Assembly, National Assembly, all petitions ended at the Court of Appeal level. It's only the presidential election tribunal that starts with their Court of Appeal and then terminates at the Supreme Court level. So definitely, I would expect the PDP and Aleke to go to Supreme Court. Perhaps not because, but because let's say because they need to explore all the windows, opportunities, yes, available to them. But it's a sad commentary on the ballot box in our dear country. That when you and I had gone to perform our civic responsibility of electing our leaders, we will still be waiting for the courts to determine or decide whether what we did on that day was what was announced.
It's and even from the supplementary elections, we still have
it's
the
back and forth. It's a very sad commentary. And we believe that we should have gone beyond this level, especially since we started this, our democratic experience since 1999. Because there's no way you go to court. Like in Yoruba, they say you cannot go to court and come out and become friends. And like I always tell my friends, these judges are individuals like you and I. We have our biases. Tendency is there that they also have their biases.
They are neutral.
Neutral, so to speak.
Just like the practice of journalism.
That's why we were just exchanging some this before we came on here. Two journalists went to cover an assignment. One journalist said, the cup is half empty. Another one says, the cup is half full. You know the biases of the two, where they are coming from. Definitely, the two of them are biased in their reportage, but they are reporting the same thing, just like judges. Now, you have just mentioned that the court of first instance, when it comes to governorship petitions, governorship election petitions, is the High Court. And the High Court, usually they have High Court, that's what they call Election Petition Tribunal at the level of governor. It is at the level of High Court. That's why they call it the first of court instance. They said 3 members will always sit. 2 said the election was not proper. We are giving it to Adeleke. And the leader of the panel said, no, what you guys are doing is against the Electoral Act. Okay, the person that's lost went to appeal court, where you always have 5 justices at the Court of Appeal. Now you have 4 saying what you guys did at the High Court level is not proper. One said, no, I agree with them. Just to let you know the biases, because the same law now, why are they seeing it from different perspectives? So that's the issue. And like I said, I think that's not the end of the case, because definitely I expect the other party to go to Supreme Court.
You expect the other party, that's Adeleke, to go to the Supreme Court and explore all of the legal options there are. But some people have also argued that this whole back and forth is not necessarily healthy for Osun State, and when we should be having focus on developmental agenda, we are here having this back and forth between the Adeleke team as well as Oyetola's team. But to what extent really now do you think some would say is an overreaching call for Adeleke to just concede defeat?
But who will make the call to him, or who will give the advice? Because it is in the habit of Nigerian politicians. We have seen elections. I have covered elections. Since 1999, I've been covering elections. There are some election results, when they announce it, you will say, oh, this is perfect, because of what you have seen on the field. But the guy will still go to the court. Even ordinary primaries within political parties that everybody has watched and saw it. Somebody will still say, I'm going to court. Because there are different reasons why they go to court. If it will be let me go to court, maybe I will get it there. So it will be inappropriate to advise whoever wants to go to court not to go to court. Those some people do it. But whether we like it or not, until this case is finally disposed of, there cannot be any focus on governance.
Does this defeat the place of service in all of this? Because some would also argue that with all of these back and forth, it means that everybody wants to get that juicy pot of gold and is not necessarily there to serve.
Service on the part of Nigerian politicians.
Is that too much to call? That's why they're there in the first instance.
From the actions of the Nigerian politicians, when they found themselves in political offices, I don't think service readily comes to mind. Because you look at how and why are they going into political...
So you say it's a place of enrichment?
Because of the way they have been carrying out the activities. Okay, if you want to go there and serve people, if it is true that you rig election, why must you rig election to go and serve people? If you want to go and serve people, why will you send somebody to go and snatch ballot boxes where your opponent is the stronghold of your opponent? What kind of service is that? So you are looking at the very foundation of Nigerian politics by that question you have asked. Because that one goes to the very foundation of Nigerian politics. What is the mindset of that man who is going to office? You go and talk to Nigerian politicians. Listen to them when they are doing their campaigns. Look at what they enjoy when they are in office. That is why when they get there, it's almost difficult for them to want to leave. Because at your beck and call, you can invite anybody, even as a governor. You are in charge of your state. You are in charge of your political party. Nobody will go into the Senate if you don't approve that person. Nobody goes into the House of Assembly if you don't approve that person. Your party will talk to you anytime they want to talk about the state. So the benefits accruing to that person in the office will overshadow whatever service he wants to give. Maybe that is why people are even beginning to say, let us look at what these guys are enjoying when they get into office. A friend even went so drastic and said, perhaps we should even place them on minimum wage and see how many people want to become governor. Put them on minimum wage, maybe 100,000 naira a month. And I will still want to see that person that will want to spend 2 billion naira to get into office.
And if we have true asset declaration, they'll be able to do an assessment, because some would say even give them 5 naira, they'll rush there because they know what they're still going to amass.
Yes, if you are doing that, if you are looking at that, then you are looking at the structure of government. In other climes, it is not in the right of an individual to sit over, let me look at Lagos State, 35 billion naira IGR every month. The structure of the government will not allow him to have access to that money. It's just like you are talking about the Prime Minister of Britain, and you think he will have access to just ask somebody to go to the central bank and go and pull out $45 million at 9 p.m. in the night. Is it possible? But it happened in Nigeria. So there's the need for us to look at the entire structure of government, so that let us make it like okay, the popular word, let us make it less attractive. There are some people that are genuinely interested in service, but unfortunately, the way Nigerian politics is configured, it will be difficult for them to get there.
So
because if you want to become a governor in Nigeria,
is there any genuinity when it comes to the place of service?
By my own experience as a journalist that I've moved very close to so many people in government, I don't think service is germane to them, is the first thing that they think of. Because even if you want to serve the people, they are not Father Christmas now. You have spent 10 billion to become a governor.
Interesting.
So then you will now get there and begin to serve the people. It's an investment. Yes, that is the right word. Politics to our people is an investment. That is why they will call you. Can you be our member in the National Assembly? Okay, we will fund your election.
Now, Adegboyega, do you think the whole back and forth and this meltdown, do you anticipate that we'll see some level of some of these go down into a breach in security, and then we have a meltdown within the security over there in Osun?
No, I don't think so, because there's another window, and then at least they will have that feelings. That is why, before now, I remember that Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, whenever they are going to give the ruling concerning the state, you will see
a beef up of security.
And I don't think Nigerians, especially now that they know that there's an opportunity of going to Supreme Court, that they will want to go on the streets. And then, because usually some of these protests that you see when it comes to political decisions are being sponsored by people. And I'm telling you this based on what we have seen. So they will say, okay, there's no need for us. What they can only do is to take some people to Abuja, to Supreme Court, to go and protest, probably thinking they will influence the decision of the court. But what is very, very key is that whatever you look at, how we look at it, it is going to affect governance. Because that person who is on the seat now will be looking at what happens if it was when the thing gets to Supreme Court. That one is natural, because you don't know what you are going to meet there. And it's even better now, because before 2011, you had cases pending in court for more than 3 years. I remember in Anambra, when Chief Ngige became the governor, it was about 2 years, 9 months after that he was removed by the Court of Appeal. And then you have other states where that's why you have staggered elections in some states now. Because these are states where the elections were nullified. Where the elections were nullified after the usurper has spent about 2 or close to 3 years in office. So, but now, based on that experience, the National Assembly, I think in 2010, came up with an aspect of the Electoral Act which they amended, that no matter the case, if it is election petition tribunal, at the first of court of first instance, which is High Court, it cannot exceed 180 days. So they peg it. Before, for 2 years, because the lawyers will be coming up with frivolous injunctions to stall the trial. And that time, the usurper will remain in office. So because of that experience, National Assembly said, no, we aren't going to take this again. So they now pegged it that whatever it is, the court of first instance, within 180 days, you must give judgment. Even if you cannot give us the reason why you are giving the judgment, like it happened in your state, I think, or one of those states, they gave the ruling and said they will come and give us the reason later. They must do it within 180 days. And then the matter will go to Court of Appeal. I think they pegged that one at 90 days. It will go to Court of Supreme Court, they peg it at 90 days. So within 1 year, this matter is disposed of, the real owner takes over, and then the era of somebody spending 3 years in an office that you don't even have a right to be there, that one is gone. So I think we should give kudos. And look at the case of the Court of Appeal in this instance. I just remember that the Court of First Instance, that High Court, the Osun State Tribunal, gave their ruling on March 26 or 27, and we are in May. The Court of Appeal has given its own. That means within 3 months. So if these guys go to court within 21 days, because they are supposed to go to Supreme Court within 21 days.
So you anticipate a speedy dispensation of justice?
Yes, now, because the Court of Appeal did its own within 2 months. So if they go to Supreme Court within 21 days, that's what the law says. If they don't go after 21 days, that means it's statute bar. So
well, let's now take a flashback to the election that erupted all of this back and forth now. To what extent do we have to perfect our electoral process so that we don't have this stall and this whole lull here and there?
It's going to take a collective effort of our people. At times when
Now, let's look at the bigger picture of the general. Let's just look at state elections now.
The dramatic personnel in the state election are also the same dramatic personnel in general elections. How do I mean? You have INEC, you have politicians, then you have voters.
But those are the main smaller subsets.
Yeah, yes, because the average Nigerian politician, because I have moved with them, I'm a politician. I took part in the last election on a large scale. When I mean large scale, at the level of primaries of a political party, I was the chairman of the national primary elections in my own party. It gave me an opportunity to meet with Nigerian politicians. Let me tell you one thing. Majority of Nigerian politicians don't have confidence in the ballot box because he believes that his rival we want to change the system. So himself comes to the contest prepared to change. That is the mindset of an in Nigeria. So, and the same thing they carry into the elections. So while INEC is trying to do its own, the Nigerian politician is also looking at, okay, these people have released the guideline. How do I change the system? How do I bypass this? That is the thing. So until Nigerian politician changes his mindset, we cannot have a free and fair election. Because the man who is going to the contest believes the other person is going to do it. So I also must prepare for it. And that is exactly what happens. Because tell me, David, why should we are going to election? And somebody was planning how his boys would go and hijack, snatch ballot boxes. Why? If he wants to serve the people. So why should some people, while INEC was preparing for elections, he would be looking at, who is that INEC official that we can compromise? Why? We were in this country when an INEC official died, and they found his account 6 billion naira. How much is his salary in a month?
We have less than 2 minutes to go now. In all of this mix as well, INEC has to take its fall for it, because some would say that whether or not people believe in the results announced, INEC's integrity has to come into question. But now, what level of assessment do you expect from INEC under the Mahmoud Yakubu administration now this time around to ensure that there is assessment done, careful assessment, audits here and there to ensure that in the areas where there are mistakes, we don't have it replicated? We still have other elections coming on later, and we can't afford to have this whole situation if we are saying Nigeria has to move forward.
Yes, Nigeria needs to move forward, especially in the area of sanitizing our electoral process. Because if anybody emerges from a process that is flawed, if I may borrow the language of late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, who told us in his inauguration speech that the process that threw me up is flawed, and I'm going to correct it. The point is, who the people involved. This thing goes beyond INEC. INEC will do its own. And don't forget that INEC cannot employ everybody it wants to use for election.
It's the electoral umpire, so it's expected to make sure that it nips in the bud every single area that
they have their guidelines. They have their guidelines. Okay, for example, let us take the issue of the card reader. INEC said because of overvoting, we are going to introduce what they call card reader. And some people will make sure that on that day, the card reader will not function. What do you want INEC to do?
Okay, well, we press for time, and we'll just have to draw the curtain on today's conversation. It's been quite interesting here, and definitely looking at this whole appeal back and forth. We'll just wait and see what's the next step for Senator Adeleke, and I believe that Adegboyega Oyetola will be smiling now and also strategizing a counter argument.
There has been jubilation in Adegboyega and some parts of Osun since that morning.
Exactly. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Dikpo Olayoko. Well, it's now time to bring you our plus packages, and when we come back, I'll definitely bring you my take.
The British government has revealed that about £795,000, that is over 300 million naira, was invested on Nigeria's young candidates in the just concluded general elections in an effort to encourage youth participation in politics. This was made known at an event organized by Gboyega Africa in Abuja. The British permanent representative to ECOWAS, Katrina Liang, while speaking to a cross-section of about 400 young Nigerians elected into various states' houses of assemblies and the National Assembly, urged them to spearhead a revolution aimed at transforming Nigeria's politics.
Convergence 1 and we're supporting Convergence 2. And we've really put our money behind it, £795 million to be precise. It'll be you making the laws now, and these are the laws that are going to affect the lives of real citizens in everything from economy, health, security, people with disabilities. And remember, as we've heard, somebody championed this law, which made it possible for you, not just somebody, a whole range of legislators. And the responsibility now lies on you to think about the laws which will make a difference to people's lives and be a hallmark of your contribution.
Our country is in dire need of excellent public leaders. Legislators who will consult with their people. And when they rise up on the floor of the chamber to say, I, so and so, speaking or representing this constituency, that you're doing so in the true sense of the word. And we want to see leaders who will hold the executive to account in performing oversight, quality oversight.
Nigeria's real disease is lack of leadership. I've always disagreed with all those who say our major national disease is financial corruption. Rather, the real disease has been the absence of true leadership, which in turn breeds moral corruption and wickedness. The not too young to run law is not so much about the exclusion of any particular class from the political space. Rather, it is designed to offer a platform for our youth population to build synergy with the segments of society for national development.
It's now time to bring you my take. Now, the new law establishing the Emirates tagged Emir's appointment and the Petition Amendment Bill 2019 was passed expeditiously within 2-3 days by the Kano lawmakers, raising concerns about a possible political undertone. And some have said the real motive of the Governor Ganduje is to reduce the tremendous influence of the Emir of Kano, who reportedly opposed the re-election of Mr. Ganduje. Well, he lost heavily in Kano Municipal, the seat of the Emir, so well. We can say this is well-founded, but my word to government and all stakeholders across different sectors is the fact that every single policy, every single action, every single statement must be born out of the need to ensure the developmental agenda are met, not under any facade or sentiment. I'm David Alabi, and this is where we draw the curtains tonight. It's been a pleasure having this date with you. Same time tomorrow, we'll be here again, and the conversation continues. Many thanks for watching.